Hi, Connor. Okay. Too many moving parts here.
In a small town, living rough. Times were hard and life was tough. On the porch we'd find our peace, talking about the land of the free. The stars and stripes in the sky, blue and red lines standing high. But beneath the freedom's call lies the story of us all. A conversation with the Mutts, just a whisper in our thoughts, talking about the dreams we chase in this vast American space. The roads we walk, they're cracked and dry, still we look up at the sky with hope that never dies and tears that fill our eyes. Thunderstorms and desert plains, echoes of our joys and pains. From the heartland to the coast, it's the simple things we toast. The conversation with the Mutts, just a whisper in our thoughts, talking about the dreams we chase in this vast American space. We walk, they're cracked and dry, still we look up at the sky with hope that never dies and tears that fill our eyes. This vast American space.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another conversation with the Mutts. Tonight we will be discussing the ghost dance and how it affected the Wounded Knee Massacre. I'm Mutt.
And I'm Mrs. Mutt.
So she is going to actually start the show tonight. She has some information she would like to share.
Well, like you said, the ghost dance is a major player, if you will, in this. Contributes majorly to this.
Right.
So I wanted to give some background on the ghost dance, which is also known as the spirit dance. It's actually a mistranslation of the Paiute term for spirit dance, but became the name for the dance most recognized. It's actually an expression of rebirth and renewal using the traditional Native American circle dance, first practiced by the Paiute Nation in 1869 and again in 1889, when it was adopted by other Plains Indian nations. U.S. government agents feared the dance led to the Wounded Knee Massacre of 1890. The dance was only one aspect of a larger spiritual movement that included adherence to a moral code of conduct in one's personal and public life, which, according to the vision preached by the Paiute prophet Waboka, who was also known as Jack Wilson, who lived from approximately 1856 to 1932. It was predicted to remove the European Americans and their destructive practices from North America, return the land to the indigenous peoples, resurrect the dead indigenous people who had been lost to disease or conflict with the whites, and bring the buffalo back, all of which would restore the world known by the Plains Indians prior to the European colonization of the Americas. The movement itself was originally envisioned by a Paiute medicine man and prophet, Wadziwab, and I apologize to anyone who may know the proper pronunciation if I'm massacring that. They believe died in 1872, but he envisioned the dance in 1869. Although, according to some scholars, there were earlier versions of the ghost dance that influenced his version. His vision, which may have been based on these earlier versions or movements, was far more apocalyptic than Wavoka's later movement. Wadziwab claimed a great earthquake would eliminate everyone. But afterward, those native peoples who had believed in his words would be resurrected and restored to the land. Among his followers was Namatibo's father, Namatibo, father of Voka. The ghost dance was actually a nonviolent spiritual response to the genocidal policies of the U.S. government, which included forced relocation of indigenous people to arid lands and the systematic slaughter of the buffalo, which had traditionally sustained the people of the Great Plains. The U.S. government, however, interpreted the movement as a threat, resulting in the arrest and death of the Sioux chief Sitting Bull, as well as the deaths of over 250 others in the Wounded Knee Massacre.
Now,
Mac.
Wounded Knee is, Sitting Bull, and I feel this needs to be clarified. Sitting Bull had died a full 2 weeks prior to the Wounded Knee Massacre. He had been shot not by a white, but by a native police officer accidentally.
Who had been sent to arrest him?
No.
No?
He had been sent to arrest another native who fired the first shot at the arresting officer. Actually, no, not at the officer that shot back initially. The first officer was the one that was trying to arrest the other gentleman, the other Native American that was with Sitting Bull.
Mm-hmm.
That particular individual, who I could not find his name, fired at the officer, missed him entirely, and hit another officer. And Sitting Bull was shot
by that
officer in return by accident. So but that had happened a full 2 weeks prior to Wounded Knee. However, it did inflame tensions, as it were.
Yes.
So
that made the, shall we say, the people, I'm sure it made the other chiefs nervous, but it also made the peoples nervous.
Yeah.
As well.
They were also trying to disarm Wavoka 2 weeks later, which is what triggered the response that they got, which led to Wounded Knee. it was odd that I thought it was odd that Wovoka was armed. However, he had purchased the weapon legally and had spent quite a bit of money on it, from what I understand, and did not want to give it up. Which, if you think about it, if these people are on the reservations, are supposed to be being taken care of, quote unquote, by the Indian Bureau, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, they wouldn't really have a need, you would think.
But they weren't being taken care of like they needed.
Right. No, not like they needed. So these natives were going out and buying firearms and hunting.
It was semi-arid terrain.
Right.
And they were told to farm.
Right. But
this land wasn't made for farming.
No, it was not. So they were having to hunt in order to survive.
And they were, I'll be able to explain it a little bit more later, but they were starving to death because they weren't being given enough rations.
No.
And they couldn't get enough to eat to sustain themselves.
No, not at all. So when they tried to disarm Wovoka, that infuriated a number of the other Native Americans, who then, as I understand it, as I was able to find, opened fire. Which in turn led to the wholesale slaughter.
Right. Now, Wovoka preached his vision to the Paiutes throughout 1889. It actually attracted the attention of citizens of other Plains nations, including the Caddo, the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, the Iowa, Osage, Ato'o, Missouri, Pawnee, Wapa, and the Sioux, among others. The Oglala Lakota Sioux chief Kicking Bear visited Wovoka and brought his message back to the people. He also conferred with the great medicine man Sitting Bull, but contrary to later claims by the U.S., Sitting Bull was not the catalyst for the movement.
Not at all.
Nor an early supporter of it. He merely tolerated it of the people. He did not discourage them.
No.
Representatives of other nations also visited Wovoka and introduced the ghost dance to their people. In addition to living moral lives free of lying, stealing, or acts of violence, believers in the ghost dance were encouraged to wear a certain type of clothing known as ghost shirts, a buckskin shawl, shirt, or coat ornamented with magical symbols. Now, these shirts were thought to
repel bullets.
They were thought to be bulletproof from the The shirt may have originated with Wovoka's vision, or may have been introduced to the Sioux by Chief Kicking Bear, and then been adopted by others. The shirt was supposed to protect the wearer, and it claimed could even stop bullets. Whether Wovoka initially suggested the ghost shirt, he encouraged its wearer as it promoted the pacifism he understood as the will of the Great Spirit in his vision. In early 1890, the vision of the ghost dance movement had been embraced by many Native American nations who observed the precepts and participated in the dance. There were those that rejected the movement, however, including the Navajo, who maintained a long-standing policy that the dead should have no commerce with the living, and feared the ghost dance's premise of the return of the dead. Now, I actually have 2 eyewitness accounts of the ghost dance.
Oh, really?
If anyone has seen, I think it was called The Indian Wars. It was HBO special. I used to have it on DVD.
Okay, yeah.
And it talks about Charles Eastman
Mm-hmm. I
or
remember the name.
Ohiesa.
I remember the name Charles Eastman.
And he married Elaine Goodale Eastman,
Mm-hmm.
the teacher. They had met in DC, and she became a teacher and was teaching in one of the I'm going to say Indian settlements. I don't know.
Reservations?
I don't know that it was a reservation, but he was at Pine Ridge and she was at another.
Well,
And
Pine Ridge was a reservation.
Okay. And they were riding back and forth. They fell in love. They got married. Well, she actually was in the Dakota territory as a teacher. And she observed the ritual firsthand in 1889 or 1890. And this is her written account. There was no secrecy about the dance, which had caused such frantic alarm among the right people. It was held in the open with neither fire nor light, while the participants had fasted for a day or two and passed through the purifying ordeal of the sweat lodge. Anyone might look on, and on a bright November night, I joined a crowd of spectators near Porcupine Tail Butte, the only person who was not a Sioux. Under the soft glow of a hunter's moon, perhaps 100 men, women, and children, with clasped hands and fingers interlocking, swung in a great circle about their sacred tree, chanting together the monotonous ghost dance song. The hypnotic repetition of the words, "Once more we shall hunt the buffalo. Our Father has said it," alternated with short invocations by prophet or priest and occasional intervals of wailing by the women. That musical, heart-piercing sound which, once heard, is never forgotten. No one with imagination could fail to see in the rite a genuine religious ceremony, a faith which, illusory as it was, deserved to be treated with respect. Someone said, it doesn't say who said this, but it's just quote, "You have your churches, why can we not have ours," end quote, was the natural reaction of the people. In the course of an hour or two, one of the worshippers would break abruptly from the ring, hush wildly about, and fall in a trance or faint, lying for some time motionless. One old woman fell so near to me that I could have touched her. Presently she stirred, got to her feet unaided, and addressed the gathering in a strong voice. "My children, I have seen those dear ones we lost long ago." "Ah ha ha, he, responded the people. "They are living in a most beautiful country covered with buffalo. Ye, ati pehi ru, our Father has said it. Their teepees are of skins. They are feasting and playing. They are perfectly happy." After each statement, the people intone their deep-voiced response. "Here, everything looks hateful to me. How can I bear it?" The congregation responds with moans and cries. Then the priest repeats that the Messiah will appear, quote, "with new grass," end quote, in the spring, and the vision will come true for all believers. After listening to this strange litany for half the night, I lay down in my tent, quite worn out with sympathetic excitement. This spell or incantation or rite continued with increasing fervor until dawn.
And this was The woman who later became Mrs. Eastman.
Yes.
Okay. The only white woman to be present at the time.
Yes. Well, there was another, I'm assuming she was a white woman. Her name was Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz.
I assume so with a name like that.
She was
Roxanne.
cites the report given by Sioux anthropologist Ella Deloria. Pardon me. So Ella Deloria, pardon me, gave a first-hand account.
Now, was that a later
By
account?
a Sioux gentleman. So this is a Sioux gentleman that actually saw it, who as a boy traveled from his village to Canada.
I noticed that you had said, and I'm going to go back to something I'm going to backtrack for just a second. You had said that Sitting Bull had essentially was hands off of the situation.
He didn't
as far as
encourage or
dance,
discourage.
right?
He kept out of it. He let his people decide for themselves, but he wasn't going to let the soldiers enforce their opinion.
I got you. I have to wonder if that wasn't partly because, contrary to popular belief, the Sitting Bull died a somewhat wealthy man. He had worked with Buffalo Bill Cody and his Wild West show, and was fetching, I forget what it was per autograph.
Was he really wealthy? Because I'm thinking that when he got back to his people, I don't think he was all that wealthy. I think he used that money to support his people. Hello, little girl.
I don't think he was as broke as people thought he was, though. So I don't know. There's some debate there to be had, but I know that he had done very well for himself under Buffalo Bill Cody. In fact, Buffalo Bill was called by General Hale, I believe his name was, to speak with Sitting Bull to try to ease tensions prior to Wounded Knee, but then turned around for some unknown reason.
Either he did or someone else did and called Buffalo Bill off.
Yeah, he Buffalo Bill was turned back.
Yes.
Which I thought was kind of odd. Now it could have been that one of Hale's somebody up the chain.
Well, I will say that there was a certain, I think there was a major and a major general that I read about.
Well, a major wouldn't have enough stroke to tell a general not to.
No, I'm not saying that.
Right.
But I'm thinking the major general called and the general sent the message.
It's possible.
The major general called and the major sent the message, don't come. We don't need you after all.
That's possible.
I will say that, after I watched, for example, that Indian Wars, I was under the impression that they had outlawed the ghost dance. And I know I have some music. I have some audio files that I absolutely love. And one of them, a line from a song, says they outlawed the ghost dance.
It was later outlawed.
This specific note that I came across, and I can go back and tell you where I got it from.
Okay.
Says the U.S. government never outlawed the ghost dance as they had the sun dance in the 1880s. But the Bureau of Indian Affairs tried unsuccessfully to have it banned. Many Native Americans stopped the practice after the Wounded Knee Massacre, fearing the same fate, but others continued the dance into the early 20th century. The Pawnee, who have always been on good terms with the United States and even supplied scouts to the wars against the Sioux, continued the dance, and according to some scholars, have helped to preserve the language and culture.
Excuse me a second, y'all. I seem to have a
Battery issue.
yeah. There we go. I think that's
And that actually came from worldhistory.org.
okay. Well, I mean, I'd always heard that it had been banned, but let's face facts. Can we really trust anything that the U.S. government tells us?
Yeah.
But I digress. That leads me down a whole other rabbit trail, and
This is true.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit trail tonight. No need to.
Yeah, I also find it interesting how there is such a wide discrepancy of number of victims. 150 to 300.
Yeah. Another odd fact that I found, many of the corpses were found naked.
That doesn't surprise me.
I can understand stripping the ghost shirts off as souvenirs.
They would take all sorts of things off these
Yeah.
as souvenirs for themselves, for their family members, what have you.
Yeah. I know that I saw a video that talked about there was a museum in Edinburgh, Scotland that ended up with one of the ghost shirts. And
That does not surprise me, Matt.
what's that?
He says ghost dance shirts are valuable like gold.
Yeah. And they had the Lakota had,
Which are part of the Sioux.
which are part of the Sioux, I suppose. Maybe the Sioux Nation.
Yes.
But the Lakota had requested the shirt back, and
Until
the people in Edinburgh put it to a community vote, and the community voted to give the shirt back to the Lakota. That shirt is now on permanent display at a museum
good.
on Lakota I'm not sure which reservation it was. Whichever one is there in the Dakotas. But it is on permanent display there. So it has been returned. So yeah, I just find it odd that something that belonged to the Native Americans, I can understand it staying here in the United States as a quote unquote souvenir, ended up all the way in Scotland, where it was also on display. So it wasn't that it was being mistreated. It was prominently displayed.
Somebody made sure it found its way to the museum, which is
Yeah.
awesome. But
It's just odd that it ended up across the pond, as it were.
well, going back to some of the information about some of the things that, shall we say, led up
Yeah.
to this. The Treaty of Fort Laramie in 1868 established a 60 million acre Great Sioux Reservation,
Right.
and created agencies to represent the federal government among each tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they had representation of the federal government on each, you know.
Mm.
If the Lakota stayed on the reservation and refrained from attacking white settlers, they would be provided with food rations, education, and other state-funded benefits. However, there were natural resources found. And of course, U.S. wanted them.
Of course.
So,
They were moved again.
yes, in a series of conflicts that saw the Great Sioux Reservation shrink from 60 million acres to 21.7 million acres by 1877. So let's see, 1868 to 1877, 9 years. And we went from 60 million to 21.7. We've lost almost 40 acres here.
Yeah.
The General Allotment Act of 1887, so now we've gone 10 years, further reduced the acreage to a mere 12.7 million acres.
Mm.
Barely 12% of the original allotment. The unbroken tract of land now consisted of 6 separate reservations centered on existing federal agencies.
Mm.
The reservation life was an abrupt and difficult adjustment for the Lakota, who acquiesced to the U.S. government. Federal agents encouraged them to raise livestock and grow crops. And like I said earlier, this land was semi-arid and it was not suited for growing crops. And these people this was a foreign concept. They were largely nomadic people who hunted game.
Right.
They didn't grow crops.
They stayed, yeah. They hunted.
At least not long-term crops.
Nope.
The Lakota were required to adopt Western dress, learn English, observe Christian principles, and abandon traditional religion. This process of forced assimilation, hacked away at Lakota culture and identity. With the government rations program, in particular, made reservation life impractical to escape. Without access to their large swaths of hunting grounds. Hold on, I have something open, so it's blocking my notes. The Lakota were forced to rely on the government-issued rations for survival. So they couldn't go out and hunt, so they had to rely on those rations. In 1889, Congress slashed the annual Lakota rations budget. And they had a harsh winter and drought of 1889 to 90. So the tribe was pushed to the brink of starvation.
Yeah.
So they were barely hanging on. So this is when the ghost dance religious movement swept across the plains of 1890.
The U.S. government was essentially trying to
cause their extinction.
Yeah, well, that was probably the politer way to put it, other than the way I was getting ready to put it. Some of the more chilling facts, since we're talking about extinction, many of the Lakota were found to have been shot at close range, including the babies and women.
Well,
Um,
those that at where they caught them, hold on,
which is
those that were making their way
Pine Ridge.
I think it was to Pine Ridge. With I can't remember the death. What's it? This black red child. Satanka.
Okay.
Those that were making their way with Satanka, which he was the Minikanju Lakota chief. Those that managed to escape the actual
Right.
area of the massacre, the Hotchkiss guns fired on their position at a rate of 50 2-pound shells per minute. They were able to make it a little further, but were cut down by the mounted soldiers.
Mm-hmm. Some of them were chased as far as 3 miles from the original site, which they weren't trying to corral them or get them under control. No. If you're chasing somebody for 3 miles, you intend to end their life.
Yes.
To unalive them, as the saying goes.
And just to clear something up, Statanka, is that what I said?
Yeah.
Oh, fudge, I'm typing and I'm not arrow. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing it, that I got that name right. Statanka, pardon me. That was actually the white Americans called him Bigfoot.
Yeah, that was in one of the.
So I wanted to make sure I addressed that.
Yeah. You have to understand, a lot of these natives
had multiple names.
Well, yeah. And there was one in particular who started out as Man with Many Horses. And afterwards, he was one of the few survivors. There were 4 men, and there were 51 survivors of the Wounded Knee Massacre that were taken to rounded up and then taken to Pine Ridge. And he was one of them. He was given the name at birth of Man with Many Horses. After Wounded Knee, he was Man with No Horses. Now, that tells you that he lost what was essentially his fortune. His horses were not cheap back then. They're not cheap now. These horses were obviously most likely stolen by the U.S. Army. They being the U.S. Army did some atrocious things. One of the ones that I found to be most atrocious was after the massacre, the U.S. Army left the Lakota bodies to freeze in a 3-day blizzard before burying them in after burying them in a mass grave. Some of the soldiers even stripped the Lakota of their clothing and kept the ghost shirts as souvenirs. Now, I'm sorry, that's further adding insult to injury to strip them naked and then dump them into, and just leave them out in a blizzard. And then when you finally do get around to giving them a burial,
146 Minikanju on a mass grave.
Yeah.
Where the Hotchkiss guns had been placed.
Yeah, that's just.
And today that place is known as Cemetery Hill.
Yeah. Some of the Lakota, as I was saying before, were chased down and killed up to 3 miles from the camp. Now, the camp was near what is now known as Wounded Knee. That was actually the name of the creek or the river that was near the camp. So that's where the massacre at Wounded Knee, comes
That's how
from.
it got its name.
Yeah, it was named after the creek.
Well,
But
how it kicked off, for lack of a better way to put it, yeah, there was planning involved. They definitely decided to do something at this location. Oh, careful, baby girl. Sorry, my young lady here just decided to knock over my soda.
little Miss Calico Kitty.
But you're fine. I got you. The commander, Colonel James W. Forsyth, he reached the Miniconjou camp near Wounded Knee Creek, located roughly 20 miles northeast of the Pine Ridge Agency.
Mm-hmm.
The late General George Armstrong Custer had led the 7th Cavalry to its demise at the Little Bighorn less than 15 years earlier. Bigfoot saw Forsyth's scouts and informed them that he would surrender without resistance. On December 29th, Forsyth convened with the Miniconjou to begin the process of weapons confiscation. He herded them into a nearby clearing, had the men form a council circle, and surrounded the circle with his cavalry. He also positioned 4 Hotchkiss guns on a hilltop bordering the clearing. Forsyth was clear in his terms. The Miniconjou must surrender all their weapons. Bigfoot was hesitant, but he surrendered a few guns as a token of peace. Forsyth was not satisfied and ordered a complete search of the people and their camp. When his men discovered a host of hidden weapons, where his men discovered a host of hidden weapons, the increasingly intrusive search angered some of the Miniconjou. A man named Sitz Straight began to dance the ghost dance and attempted to rouse the other members of the band, claiming that bullets would not touch them if they donned their sacred ghost shirts. The soldiers grew tense as Sitz Straight's dance reached a frenzy. When a deaf Miniconjou named Black Coyote refused to give up his gun, the weapon accidentally went off, and the fraught situation turned violent as the 7th Cavalry opened fire. Because many of the Miniconjou had already given up their weapons, they were left defenseless. Scores of Miniconjou were shot and killed in the first moments, among them Bigfoot. Some women and children attempted to flee the scene and sought protection in a nearby ravine. But the Hotchkiss guns fired on their position, as I said, at a rate of 50 2-pound shells per minute.
Mm.
And like we said, that some were able to make it a little further, but they were still cut down. And the 7th Cavalry did not discriminate.
No. But it was not in retaliation, as many had originally believed, for Custer's.
Right. There were some that theorized.
Yeah, that theorized that it was in retaliation. That had been 15 years prior. So it was not actually in retaliation at all for Custer and the loss of him and his men at Little Bighorn. Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to say a Little Round Top. I knew that wasn't right. Now, the reports indicated that soldiers loaded 51 survivors 4 men and 47 women and children onto wagons and took them to the Pine Ridge reservations. The casualties for the U.S. soldiers numbered 25 dead, most of which they believed was due to friendly fire. So they were shooting each other in their frenzy to try to wipe out these Native Americans. They were firing so indiscriminately that they ended up killing their own people, which that says a lot.
Now, on January 2nd of 1891, a band of Lakota went to the site of the massacre and rescued a few survivors from the snow.
Yeah. The Bureau, why the ghost dance was banned, although you were saying it was never actually banned.
No, I said that
It wasn't outlawed.
it wasn't outlawed, and I said the BIA tried to ban it.
The Bureau of Indian Affairs interpreted the ghost dance as a threat to the goals of assimilating Native Americans. Several Bureau agents also filed reports throughout the late 1880s and early 1890s that conflated the religious movement with war preparations. So they, imagine that, they embellished the meaning of it to include war, which was never the case, which does not surprise me. A government agent lying? No, never. They wouldn't do that. Excuse me. So yeah, it just is a bit infuriating, even for me as a white man, to hear that these kinds of things were thrust upon the Native Americans unnecessarily, all for the sake of minerals. Let's face it, it was gold. Yeah. Let's face it, it was more than likely gold, especially in the Dakotas.
Yes, Mac, this was after the Battle of Little Bighorn.
Yeah, 15 years later.
I'm showing the BIA attempted to portray the destruction at Wounded Knee as a battle. But later investigations and eyewitness accounts clearly established the event as a massacre.
Yeah, up to...
There was no significant armed resistance because of the weapons confiscated, and the U.S. Army combatants significantly outnumbered the many Kanju present.
I know that, I believe it was you that told me that some of the soldiers that were at Wounded Knee actually were given the Medal of Honor.
Yes, I'm going to be getting into that.
Which I can't understand that.
This is, well, it was back at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it must have been after they received their medals that it was determined to be a
massacre and not a battle.
This is when we get into that theory. It says it is plausible that the 7th Cavalry committed this atrocity to avenge their humiliation at the Little Bighorn. Miles was appalled at their actions, stripped Forsyth of his command, and conducted an investigation of the events. However, Forsyth was deemed innocent and restored to his former post. Furthermore, 20 U.S. cavalrymen received a Congressional Medal of Honor, the highest honor conferred upon a member of the U.S. Armed Forces. In June of 2019, several members of the U.S. House of Representatives introduced the Remove the Stain Act, a bill that would rescind those awards. The measure was co-sponsored by Representative Deb Haaland, one of the first American Indian women to serve in Congress. The Wounded Knee Massacre marked the last major armed conflict between the United States and the Plains Indians. The ghost dance religion sputtered out with Wovoka himself begging his people to follow, quote, the only trail now open, the white man's road, end quote. In February 1973, however, some 200 American Indian movement activists occupied the hamlet at Wounded Knee to alert the public to persistent civil rights violations on Pine Ridge Reservation. They declared it the, quote, independent Oglala Sioux Nation and refused to leave until the U.S. federal government ousted the presiding Sioux chairman, promised to honor all Indian treaties, and corrected the treatment of American Indians throughout the country. Federal troops besieged the area for 71 days, reaching a half-hearted settlement only after 2 deaths and several exchanges of gunfire. Despite the hundreds of arrests that followed, the activists achieved their goal of drawing attention to the United States' repeated infringement upon American Indian rights and sovereignty. Ghost dance, either of the two distinct cults, is a complex. Oh, hold on. Either of the two distinct cults in a complex of late 19th century religious movements that represented an attempt of Native Americans in the Western United States to rehabilitate their traditional cultures. Both cults arose from northern Paiute, prophet dreamers in western Nevada who announced the imminent return of the dead, hence ghost, the ousting of the whites, and the restoration of Native American lands, food supplies, and way of life. These ends, it was believed, would be hastened by the dances and songs revealed to the prophets in their vision visits to the spirit world, and also by strict observance of a moral code that resembled Christian teaching and forbade war against Native Americans or whites. Many dancers fell into trances and received new songs from the dead they met in visions or were healed by ghost dance rituals. The first ghost dance developed in 1869 around the dreamer Wodzewab, and in 1871 to 1873 sped to California and Oregon tribes. It soon died out or was transformed by other cultures. The second derived from Wovoka, whose father Tavibo had assisted Wodzewab. Wovoka had been influenced by Presbyterians, on whose ranch he worked, by Mormons, and by the Indian Shaker Church. During a solar eclipse in January of 1889, he had a vision of dying, speaking with God in heaven, and being commissioned to teach the new dance and millennial message. Millennials, boy. Native Americans.
I don't think that's the same type of.
No, I know it's not. Native Americans from many tribes traveled to learn from Wovoka, whose self-inflicted stigmata on hands and feet encouraged belief in him as a new Messiah or Jesus Christ come to the Native Americans. That's the word in the article. Thus, the ghost dance spread as far as the Missouri River, the Canadian border, the Sierra Nevada, and northern Texas. Early in 1890, it reached the Sioux and coincided with the rise of the Sioux outbreak of the late 1890, for which the cult was wrongly blamed. This outbreak culminated in the massacre at Wounded Knee, South Dakota, where the ghost church failed to protect the wearers as promised by Wovoka. As conditions changed, the second ghost dance became obsolete, though it continued into the 20th century in attenuated form among a few tribes. Both cults helped reshape traditional shamanism, a belief system based on the healing and psychic transformation powers of the shaman or medicine man, and prepared for further Christianization and accommodation of white culture.
And that, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, okay. Go for it.
Taking a look. The Indian agents on the Sioux Reservation actually banned the ghost dance religion and used the military to enforce the ban. Tensions led to the Wounded Knee Massacre and the loss of hundreds of Sioux, including the elderly, women, and children. Native Americans were outraged, but with the fear of more violence, the practice of the ghost dance declined sharply afterward. I had more after that.
I think you said that.
There we go. Here we go. This is Sitting Bull was the Indian chief of the Lakota Sioux. In 1876, his people were driven from the Black Hills Reservation. In response, they took up arms against the whites to protect the right to remain in their lands. Sitting Bull and his people defeated a group of Custer's men, so this would be 7th Cavalry, that had been sent in advance of General Alfred Terry's men. General Terry's command was one column of General Custer's brigade. Sitting Bull and his people embraced the ghost dance movement, started by Wovoka. The fervor of the movement had installed great fear in white people, as they believed the excitement of the dance was in preparation for future hostilities directed at them. Performing the dance was illegal on the reservation, so maybe it was illegal at some point. I don't know. And Major James McLaughlin visited Sitting Bull to convince him and his followers to abandon the dance to ensure their safety. Sitting Bull was defiant and refused. U.S. authorities confronted him, and he was eventually shot and killed by 2 Sioux policemen. Shortly after, the massacre at Wounded Knee occurred, partly in response to the death of Sitting Bull and partly because of the upheaval from the ghost dance, or that the ghost dance caused.
All that sense was that. All behind a dance.
I do have just a little.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. This will give you an idea of the fear within the military community. If I can get it to go where I need it to go. It's not wanting to scroll up. Okay. The ghost dancers' hopes were met with fear from white settlers who worried that the rituals would incite violence against them. Federal Indian agent Daniel F. Royer, jokingly nicknamed, quote, young man afraid of Indians, by the Lakota he had been hired to monitor, was one of them. In December 1890, Royer sent a desperate telegraph from Pine Ridge Reservation in the Badlands region of South Dakota to his bosses at the Bureau of Indian Affairs in D.C. Quote, Indians are dancing in the snow and are wild and crazy, he wrote. We need protection, and we need it now. And that comes from National Geographic.
Poor boy. Poor boy.
He was just so scared because they were dancing a dance.
That's just all they're doing is dancing, dude. It's
They're
okay.
dancing in the snow. They're acting crazy. They're coming for me. They're coming for me. That's it.
Yeah, that's basically what he was thinking. He just thought he was done.
Yep.
Well, maybe if he hadn't been so dirty in what he was doing, makes you wonder.
What were you doing underhanded
That
to
you,
these Indians?
that
You
would-
feel that's a guilty conscience.
yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's the information that we were able to deduce from the Wounded Knee Massacre. We do have an announcement that next week's show is not going to occur. Mac, you get a reprieve from school next week. Because Mrs. Mutt has to have minor surgery. It's an outpatient thing.
It's nothing major at all.
Yeah. And she'll be home later that day, but we're going to let her rest. And I'm going to try my best to take care of her while she does so and recovers. But
yeah, he gets to take care of me that day. I've already told him he has to cook.
Yeah, I'll order something. Okay.
Of course, typical man. You have to cook. No, I don't. I just order in.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, but yeah, that's going to need to occur. We will resume the following week. We don't have a topic for the following week yet, so if anyone has any suggestions,
I was
please
trying
feel
to find
free.
our list, and
Okay.
I emailed it to you, and now I can't find it in our list.
Well, you can go into your email and type in.
I know. Give
yeah,
me just a second.
So.
Today is the 4th.
Yes, it is. 'Tis the 4th.
Okay, I'm sending you my notes, just so you know
Okay.
when we had this.
But yeah, but we are gonna hang out for a little extra. We're gonna hang out for an extra hour, just to kind of shoot the breeze with y'all.
Since we didn't make a show last week.
Since last week we weren't able to have the show, we thought it only fair to give you all a little extra this week.
And especially since we're not having the show next week.
Yeah.
There
So
it
we're gonna
is.
just kind of shoot the breeze with y'all. Give me the list if you have it.
Yeah, I found it.
Okay.
We've done the USS Wisconsin.
Yep.
We've done the Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
We have now done the Indian Wars.
Right.
We did not do women gunslingers yet. We have done female gangsters. We have done a trivia night.
Which was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the trivia night.
We have not done the World War II Plane Museum,
Oh, we
but I think we have to get there. To do
we
that.
have to go to Pungo to do that.
That's
not like it's that far.
First
It's just,
battle, the first Wounded Knee battle. That's the Indian Wars,
right.
and we have the haunting of Elbow Road.
The Haunting of Elbow Road.
Which I don't know how much I can find out about that. you've lived here all your life, you know that story.
Yeah. What would you like to do, dear?
The only thing I see on that list that I could contribute to is the gunslinger.
Yeah, I think we kind of,
You and your previous.
yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
I have not.
we could do female gunslingers.
If you have another idea for a topic, I'm all ears.
I don't have another idea right now for a topic.
If you want to take some time, if
I
you
think-
want us to take time over this week and come up with something
Yeah, I
and
think-
announce it between now and
Yeah,
Thursday,
let's do that. I don't want to
And
make
in the
a
meantime-
hasty decision.
post something online
Right.
to ask for suggestions.
Yeah, I can do that. Not that I have an objection to doing female gunslingers.
Yes, I know you've done them before
Yeah.
with your previous.
My previous channel partner.
And you feel that you've kind of beaten that topic to death.
Kind
So
of.
I understand.
Yeah. Like we did with the pirates, we kind of beat that to death. I will not be doing another pirate show for a very long time.
That is fine. I totally understand.
So I think we would be better served to do a newer topic or a different topic, not necessarily a newer topic, but a different topic. And I think it would behoove us to have you and I have a discussion over the course of this week, the remainder of this week, and figure something out. And I will make an announcement. I could even make the announcement next Wednesday.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Trinity's got an idea. She says I'll do the topic.
Thanks, Mac. You're more than welcome to hang out.
We're planning on hanging out for like another hour if you want to join us. We understand that you have to go,
But yeah, we're gonna hang out and shoot the breeze with folks. There's 3 of y'all up there. I think one of them might be Mrs. Mutt, but so that would mean there's 2 others up there in the lurker
one
loft.
would be me and one would be Matt.
So whoever the third one is up there, and I don't think it's me. Please feel free to contribute. We can discuss cats. No, I'm kidding.
I told you. Trinity said she wants to read the topic.
You want to be the topic, sweetheart?
Billy Beans and Trinity are going to fight it out to see which one of them gets.
Maybe
to
we
read the
could
topic.
do a battle royal between mother and daughter to see who's going to be the topic of the cat discussion. But no.
Don't worry, if that happens, he'll film it and post it.
Oh, more than likely. Yeah. I mean, they were the sisters were fighting it earlier today, and not fighting, but they were play wrestling, and I was out of position to get it in time. But yeah, they were really going at it. It looked like Billy Beans had Hella in a headlock and was jackrabbiting her belly. Oh, baby.
You gotta be careful. You got sharp claws.
Oh, babes. Oh, babes. Oh, hush. You're all right. Daddy's just loving on you. So, I think next month, not next week, but next month, we should do another trivia night.
We've done enough to, we may have to just put questions that don't have anything to do with our,
We did that last time.
yeah.
Or do you want to wait a couple? Well, I'm talking like maybe by the end of next month.
Okay.
that will have given us this show plus at least
We can
one.
pick some Halloween trivia.
But by that point we can do the haunting of Elbow Road,
Mhm.
or maybe even the haunting of the Cavalier.
Yeah, we can definitely discuss the Cavalier.
We could. I don't think we have yet, have we?
Not to my knowledge.
I think my previous and I did, but I think you and I could definitely do a better job. You know what? We could do that. We could actually do that the following week.
What, in 2 weeks?
Yeah. Would that be something that would interest y'all? You know what? We could just do the history of the Cavalier.
Yeah,
you
without
know,
doing the haunting.
Without doing the haunting of the Cavalier, the history of it, because it
All
is
the roads
actually,
in Beach.
it actually starts in Chesapeake and ends in Beach. That winds through. But yeah. Yeah, the Cavalier has quite the history without it even being haunted. It, at one point, it had its own speakeasy. It had, it was
Hundreds of accidents happen on Elbow Road.
Mhm.
Are ghosts to blame?
Probably.
Stay away from Virginia's most haunted street.
I don't know that Elbow Road's the most haunted. I think people mistake the swamp gas for other things. I have been
Stay
down.
away from Virginia's most haunted street after dark, or you may be sorry. Elbow Road in Virginia Beach is considered haunted due to numerous accidents and local legends.
See, they say that it's only in Virginia Beach. That actually is a misnomer. Like I just said, it starts in Chesapeake and ends in Virginia Beach. It kind of cuts through. So yeah, no, I kind of take as a Chesapeake boy born and raised. Kind of take.
One thing is from WHRO, and the other is from onlyinyourstate.com.
Okay. Well, I don't think Chesapeake gets the recognition it deserves for some of this stuff. They just lump it. Now, I will grant you that the larger portion of it is in Virginia Beach, but it does start in Chesapeake. It cuts right through, or it goes right past Stumpy Lake, which has its own legends, which we may discuss. We could do that too at some point. The legends of Stumpy Lake. I don't think I've ever actually discussed those with you. But yeah. Yeah, I know. I tend to do a lot of stuff with Virginia, but that's because that's what I know. When your family goes. Yeah. I mean, when your family goes back here centuries, literally, it kind of, we can do Kentucky too, though. We've got quite a few. I've got my mother being from there. I would love to get my mom on here, actually, to get her to tell some of her stories. Being that it is stated that Kentucky has a Celtic culture.
Chat up on your screen.
Yeah. Yeah. Do a lifetime. Oh, no, Mac. For shame on you for even stating that. No, will not do that. That would require too much Paul Masson. And I can't get that drunk.
Neither can I.
No, I cannot get that drunk. life and times of Sparky. Good Lord. Could you imagine? That's it. That's it, Mac. You're scraping gum again and doing the trash and cleaning the erasers just for making that suggestion and being late. No, it's all good. So like, oh God, that would be such a, oh my Lord. Would that be
I would be afraid that would repel listeners.
Yeah, I think so. Are you trying to kill the channel, Mac? We're trying to grow the channel. Stop it. Besides that, she's doing her own thing now, and that's fine. She can go do her own thing. We're not even gonna entertain that. Wow, that's just gnarly. Excuse me. So, what would you like to talk about, Rob?
I don't know.
You don't know. That's the answer I get all the time. What do you
You
want?
know I'm a flexible person.
We're not talking about that right now. No, we are not talking. No.
I didn't say I was a contortionist. We're not discussing that.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. We are not going to discuss. No, we're not doing it. You're not going to get me to do that. Stop it. Behave yourself. I know. In honor of Mac, we could discuss Celtic Mutt photography one show. Mac absolutely, he likes my videos. I can always count on Mac to have a positive comment on my videos.
I was simply, since you said mac and cheese.
With or without tater tot topping.
Oh, you would go back to Fish and Pig.
Yes, there's a restaurant here called the Fishing Pig. Fishing
And
Pig.
it's not fish and pig.
It's Fish and Pig.
Pig.
And, like the pig is actually fishing. Which to me, after she read the menu, it sounded a lot like it had a Cajun, a little bit of a Cajun flair to it. To be honest,
it's a lot of pork and seafood,
yeah.
So that makes sense for fish and pig.
Yeah, but just from some of the ingredients and some of those recipes, it did sound very Cajun-esque.
Yeah, it's got a little bit with the remoulade.
The remoulade, yes. But we could do international. We could do a topic on international foods and how they have incorporated into the Americas. Maybe that's.
I don't know.
I can't believe, Mac. I can't even believe you suggested that. I'm sitting here staring at that, going, "Oh my Lord." That's it. He for the next 3 weeks, sir. You were doing erasers and
Scraping gum,
and taking out the trash for the next 3 weeks.
and litter pan duty.
Yeah, yep, and you have litter pan duty. Yep. Shame on you. Sunken treasure off of the East Coast that hasn't been found yet. That is a possibility, Mac. That
might be interesting.
That is.
I mean, I know obviously Arizona. There's a lot of Dutchman's.
Well, there are legends that we could do the legends of East Coast treasure, sunken East Coast treasures, because let's face it, I think that the galleon that was alleged to have been
With
sunk.
bunnies?
Yeah. Also had gold on it. I know that there was at least one Confederate ship that was sunk off the coast of Virginia here that supposedly had gold on it. So yeah, no, that is a possibility, Mac. We could definitely look into that. That's actually a good idea. I like that idea, actually. You adding it to the list?
Yes.
You made the list, Mac. You made the list.
I don't remember when we did the USS Virginia.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Well, yeah, because we postponed last week, and then the week after that, or the week before that, was the USS Virginia. Mac made the list. I'm so proud of him.
So that would have been the 21st?
Somewhere in that area, yeah, I believe. So that works for me. I did not text the two people I was supposed to text before we went live, but they can catch the rerun. I just thought about that. Well, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a veterinarian. It's the rest of that line. So, maybe we aren't going to go for another 2 hours because I don't know what else we can talk about. And two of our workers are being relatively quiet.
I'm wondering if one of them is Angel.
I wonder. And I put it on a live chat so everybody is
Or if it's
it's not
me and that, but that was before. So.
Right, so there is somebody there. It should be visible because I put it on top chat, or excuse me, live chat, which should show everybody's comments. But anyway, I think, folks, we're going to go ahead and we are going to go close this out. I had a test run today, and I won't have the results for a few days yet. And I'm actually a little tired. So hopefully you all can forgive me. I know we had said we were going to go an extra hour, but I'm feeling a little run down, to be completely transparent with you.
I've had a rather stressful
week
with some family issues. So.
Yeah. I think we're going to go ahead and end this. I want to thank you, Mac, for being here. And for those that have popped in and out during the course of the show, I've noticed the numbers have bounced up and down. So if you catch this later, we do apologize for not going that extra time. But it has been a stressful week for the both of us. So we're going to go ahead and call this. We love you all. We appreciate the time that you spend here with us. And we're going to go ahead and say good night. Do you have anything you want to add?
I just want to thank everybody for taking their the time out of their days, day or evening, or whatever it is for them, and listening.
You can also, let me also back this up because I want to make this point. This Saturday on Celtic, on TikTok, if you have TikTok, Mrs. Mutt and I will be going live over there for a late night with the Mutts. My channel over there is Celtic Mutt Clothing. It was started ages ago. But you can find me over there under Celtic Mutt Clothing.
Maybe we can post the link somewhere on here.
Possibly, yeah. I can go back in later and post the link for the channel. Put it down in the description.
Maybe make an announcement somewhere with it.
Yeah, and I'll make an announcement later on in the week as well. To remind folks. But we will be doing a late night with the Mutts, just a general chat, I think.
No specific topic.
Yeah, no specific topic. You're just kind of shooting the breeze.
Shooting the breeze.
Yeah, we may even throw some music on because they don't have some of the requirements that they have over here on YouTube as far as music, playing music and stuff. So look for that. And until then, do me a favor, take care of yourselves and each other if you get the chance.
Have fun storming the castle.